Welcome to the Celebrate a Sister podcast. I'm your host, Emma Walkinshaw, author, body confidence coach, and founder of The Embodied Woman and 21 Minutes of Morning Magic. You'll also find me on the yoga mat hosting retreats here in Australia and internationally. Each week, I chat with incredible women around self-belief, body acceptance, and embracing who we are, especially in midlife. We share real stories, challenge outdated beauty standards, and grow together through honest conversations. I am so glad you are here. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Celebrate a Sister podcast. I am Emma Walkinshaw. I am your host. A big warm welcome if you are new here, and the beautiful women who tune in each week. I want to say thank you. Thank you for your messages and your emails. I really appreciate getting some feedback and you also adding to the conversation and sharing your thoughts and feelings. As you can imagine, doing a podcast, it's quite interesting because you're talking into the ethos. So it is wonderful when I hear your beautiful echo back. So thank you. This week's conversation is out of the archives from the Body Love Revolution online summit. If you didn't get a chance to listen to all of the conversations while the summits were live, here is Emma Gilmour, one of my guests. Emma is a friend. She also has shared many vulnerable, raw conversations with me, and I really love that about Em. There's a real calmness and a vulnerability there. She's very honest and very truthful. She talks today about breaking up with booze and breaking up with diet culture. I love Em's lightness yet depth. She really is an inspiration and a pretty incredible woman. No doubt you're going to enjoy this conversation, and please send me an email. Please send me a message. I love what your thoughts are. I love what you think and feel about this and how this is relative to you in your life, or how it is not. Whatever your opinion or whatever you'd like to add, I am all ears because we are in this together. Enjoy today's conversation. Welcome everybody to the online summit, Body Love Revolution. Here we are again with one of my dear friends and our next guest speaker, Emma Gilmour. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Emma. Emma is a registered counsellor, a psychotherapist, senior This Naked Mind, and master grey area drinking certified alcohol coach. Emma lives in Melbourne, Australia. Emma has worked for 20 years in the corporate marketing and ran every morning before work. So she has a love of movement, a working mum fueled by adrenaline, coffee and booze. She looked like she had it all, but on the inside, she was running on empty. As she reached her mid-40s, alcohol started to take more than it gave. So she began a long and very messy breakup with alcohol. Nothing stuck until her elders asked her to stop drinking wine, bringing wine into their bedroom. Then it finally landed for her. Emma started a process of rebuilding herself as an adult with nurturing care. She discovered her values, stopped drinking, and had to create a whole new identity. Kicking the booze to the curb gave Emma previously unknown level of confidence and personal power to pursue her dreams and become a qualified counsellor and coach. Still very much a work in progress, Emma is an Aussie-based perimenopausal mum of 2 neuro and gender-diverse teens. She loves stand-up paddleboarding, ocean swimming, has recently purchased some gorgeous hot pink roller skates. The focus of her coaching is women in midlife wondering what might open up to them if they break up with alcohol. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you so much.
So lovely to have you here, my love.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
So Emma and I have had lots of conversations about relationships with alcohol and life in perimenopause, juggling all of the things, children and family. But Em, I wanted to dive in. What messages did you absorb about your weight and body image growing up?
Yes, it's very interesting, isn't it? I think certainly growing up in the 80s, which was really, so I was sort of 70s, 80s, born in 1973, I'm just turned 50 last year. And diet culture was very much part of my upbringing. Even like I remember my granny and granddad always being quite rigorous around the amount of food that they would consume. My mum was born a little bit of a larger child, and she, excuse me for coughing there, and she was bullied a little bit as a little kid, and I think that brought its own stuff into her world, and she started to, I think, as she got into her late teens and early adulthood, her world kind of changed when she lost some weight. So people started to treat her well. She had her hair done and suddenly she kind of blossomed in. She got her big glasses taken out. She didn't have those anymore. And she sort of blossomed into this sort of, her life shifted because of her changing her shape. And so I do remember growing up, and I remember dieting with my mum in my teens. I remember my mum having these sort of dreadful diets, which would be like a slice of ham, a little bit of beetroot, and an egg.
Yes.
Really plain and gross. And I remember doing that with her. I always remember my mum weighing herself. And again, none of this, I think it's really important when we talk about our families, it's none of this is to blame anybody. It's not about blame. It's about, this is our cultural conditioning, right? And for me, the cultural conditioning of a woman in the 80s it was all Jane Fonda. Do you remember Jane Fonda's workouts? And
Yeah.
it was like Olivia Newton-John, let's get physical. Those were like
Yeah.
it was Jamie Lee Curtis in her really high leggings. And it was very much part of my world, was just accepted that we were continuously dieting as females. So I think we definitely got that message. And I even remember, just little, it's all very subtle. But I know that, growing up as well, and now as an adult, still my family culture, my family of origin culture is to talk about food in terms of it being good or bad, putting on weight being, something that's frowned upon in the culture of my family. Certainly from my mum's side. And I think very much that's a protective mechanism for her, as it was for a lot of our families. I think it's trying to keep us safe from some of the horrible things that have happened to them. And because we do still live in a society that, even though it's improving, that is, it is very, very fat phobic, that it makes sense they'd want to keep us safe from that. I remember the first time my teen kind of came out and wanted to be wearing pride flags and things like that, walking around the streets, and me just thinking, God, I hope no one hurts them. And it wasn't that I didn't want them to do it. I didn't want them to shine their precious light. I was just like, I hope no one hurts them.
Yes.
And I think that's, it's a sort of similar thing, isn't it? Our parents, we don't mean to cause harm by what we do and what we say, but we do, unsubtly. So that was my sort of growing up. It was always diets. And then as a teenager, I didn't know I was neurodivergent at this time, and a lot of neurodivergent teenagers, the correlation between neurodivergence and eating disordered eating is very high, unusually high, to the point where it's kind of a thing, if that makes sense. So it's almost you're go on.
Why is that, Em? Why is that the connection between neurodivergent and eating disorders? What is the...
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've done a bit of studying on it. It's quite interesting that a lot of the neurodivergent reasons for not eating or binge eating or whatever the particular or exercising in extreme ways is less to do, from what I know, is less to do with how we appear and more to do with a way of managing our experience, emotions and stuff like that. In the neurodivergent side of things, it's less about I want to look like Kelly in the magazine and more about this is a way that I can control my experience of, and it feels safe. This is a way I can create that I can make myself feel safe
Yeah.
because everything feels out of control. I'm different to everybody. I feel really different to everybody. I'm masking, I'm trying to fit in. Everybody else is dieting. This feels like a way I can fit in. I can have the conversations with the other girls and I know the rules. You know, the rules of dieting are very easy ones to follow and everyone knows them. We can fit in a lot more easily if we can have those conversations. We can become part of the gang.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a lot of different, so I wouldn't say there's one, you know, because obviously there's so many variations of people, but it's interesting that it doesn't tend to have the same sort of, it's less to do with look and feel and more to do with emotional experience and control and fitting in.
And would we say that's self-regulating, a way to
A
regulate?
way to regulate, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
sort of having control over something when everything just feels completely out of control. And you know, your sensory experience of the world is so huge. Or not, you know, it can
Mm.
go either way. It can either be really big or really shut down. And we really struggle with feeling. And when you struggle, one of the interesting things about not being able to feel, which is quite a common trait of neurodivergent humans, the sort of lack of interoceptive awareness or huge interoceptive awareness. It goes one of two ways.
Yeah.
But if you have low interoceptive awareness, which is what interoceptive awareness means, is it means it's that ability to be able to feel something when it happens. So, you know, feel when we're hungry, feel when we need to pee, feel when we, you know, been sitting on our leg for too long, or we've been sitting in the same position for too long. It's like getting those cues between our brain and our
Yeah.
body. They just
Body.
don't work the same way. And so for a lot of us neurodivergent, it's actually something we can do relatively easily because of the disconnection.
Yes.
Because we don't know, like we, you know, the same hunger cues and stuff aren't necessarily
Yeah.
naturally there. That makes sense. But again, like I said, I would hate to speak on behalf of everybody because it's such a wide area. But for me, I started dieting. I did dieted on and off with my mum, but I started being bulimic, and I hope this doesn't concern anybody, but started being bulimic when I was about 14 or 15. I think everything was feeling a bit out of control and just felt like a way that I could manage myself and I could have control over something. And I think it was at that time, it was like 15, 16, it was like the world was getting a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
Exams were getting harder and school was getting harder and pressure was. And so this was a way of maintaining. I remember being bulimic for about a year. And then I went more in the not eating. And not eating was always a really easy way for me to control when I was feeling really out of control. And it was always a really easy way to make people say nice things to me. Like when I was thin, even when I was like eating an apple a day, I never ever got anything other than compliments from people. Oh, you look really great. You've lost a lot of weight. So it felt like it was like validating.
Yeah.
I never got
Reward.
anything other than compliments when I was very, very sick. You look great.
That's the illusion of it, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. You're on one hand, like you say, incredibly sick, malnourished, not fed, yet
Yeah.
then you're being, getting that outside validation.
Yeah. Never ever got anything. Ever, ever. No one ever said to me, oh my gosh, you've lost a lot of weight. Are you okay? No one ever said that.
No.
Mm. And for me, it went on for years. Like I was doing that for years. And every time I'd have some sort of big emotional thing as well, I would get back to it. So it's one of those things that sort of like just comes back. And still, you know, even with that now with diet culture, like we were talking about, because I practiced intuitive eating. And, you know, every now and again, it will drag me back in because it's just like, oh, I could get control over everything again.
I agree. This is the
Just
pull.
get it, get it.
Yeah.
And also for neurodivergence, we love a rule.
Yeah.
We love a rule and we love it like, like
Yeah.
feels ordered, it feels, you know,
Yeah. Feels safe. It's easy.
feels safe.
Yeah. And it's that whole thing when you're starting to feel out of control, well, you go, this is a great way. I can whip myself back into shape. Just get on the program, get on a
Yeah.
diet, and
Yeah.
you'll be right.
because there's something wrong with me, so I can fix myself. If I fix myself, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's that deep-seated belief, like we all have,
Yeah.
neurodivergent or, neurotypical, is there's something wrong with me. I'm
Yeah.
not good enough
Yeah.
where I
I need,
am.
yeah, like you say, I need to be fixed. And I cannot just rest on my, laurels. I cannot stay where I am. I need to constantly be searching. And the next thing, and this is where, the sneaky marketing of the diet
Yeah,
culture,
yeah, yeah. I
we
need to fit in. I need to fit in. It's all about fitting in, right? I need to fit in. I need to not stand out, not take up space. It's the same with alcohol. So similar. It's like I need to fit in. I cannot, have a problem with this. This cannot be something that it's I'm not prepared to die on this hill, you know,
Mm, yeah.
metaphorically, but
Yeah.
actually in reality, it's kind of like it can get that bad.
So what was the turning point for you, Em, do you believe, in your journey around your body acceptance journey and your, coming from diet to bulimic in
Mm,
teens and then to an adult? And clearly, as we heard in your bio, your
mm,
time then where you're running lots, you're not eating, you're
mm,
drinking.
mm,
What was the shift? Was there, I know one of your children asked you not to bring alcohol into
mm,
their
mm, mm,
bedroom. Was
mm,
there, what changed things, and the intuitive eating, you coming across that and practicing that and studying that? What
mm,
was the turning point for you?
mm. I think there are a few, and I've done a lot of work on intuitive eating. And as we know, Em, I'm I'm just about to become qualified as an intuitive eating counselor. Um, but it's taken a little bit of time for me to let go of, and I still don't think I have 100%, and I'm not sure you ever do, to let go of this societal conditioning about what, that sort of idea that thin is healthy, and, um, being in a bigger body is less good than being in a regular size, than being in a regular or thin body. Um, But my turning point, I think, came after I stopped drinking. I don't think I stopped dieting. I don't think I even thought about that at all until after I'd stopped drinking. And that's true for so many things for me, because it's only really when you stop drinking, because why most of us drink is we drink because we're trying to numb or suppress or control our experience of life. So when we stop drinking, we then have to kind of work on all the things that we've been numbing and controlling and suppressing
Yeah.
and bring them all out into the light,
Yeah.
which is why it can be quite a challenging time. And I think one of my things was, this doesn't sit right for me. There's me, here's me, this feminist. I don't want my children to be having the issues that they've had around that I've had around my shape. And my, really unhealthy eating practices and things like that. And just that whole, same with alcohol, it's like waking up in the morning and beating yourself up for not having done the thing that you set out to do. So I didn't want to bring that into my home. But I think the biggest thing for me has been swimming. I was saying this to Em, like swimming is just such a, like in COVID, I started swimming in the ocean, which I never believed I would do, because I was always like, even though I grew up near the sea, I was always a bit frightened of going in the ocean because it was so big and there was all these scary things in it. And I think particularly as you get older, you get more frightened, don't you? When you're a child, you don't care. You're like, let's go, it doesn't matter. We go tumbled by the waves. And you get older. And I found myself, I'd moved to Australia and I would only ever go in the water when it was like 40 degrees, because just to cool off, that would be why I'd go in the water. And then over COVID, I decided I was going to start and learn to swim in the sea and there was a bunch of women and they were going out over COVID, and they weren't swimming to get fit. They were swimming to be with each other, to get the benefits of being in cold water. It was breaststroke. It wasn't anything. It was a chat, 15-minute chat in the morning.
Beautiful.
Um, Incredible experience. And the group grew and grew and grew, as many swimming groups did over COVID. Um, And I met some of the most incredible humans through that. But one of the most beautiful things was how grounding it is to be with a bunch of women in their daggy old swimsuits every day when they've just got out of bed.
Yes.
And how lovely it is, and how real it is, and how it doesn't matter what size you are. And I was one of my biggest thing I was saying this to Em was, and I remember, and I'd learned all this stuff, like I'd read it, I'd learned it, but until you feel it in your soul, I don't think these things sometimes don't kind of come true to you, do they? And I know I was walking out of the water, I'd been swimming by myself, I was following two women, and they looked stunning. They like had these beautiful, they'd be in like an Andy swimming costume, kind of like catalogue or something like that. They would just looked amazing. I was like, I remember thinking, oh, if I looked like that in a swimsuit, everything would be so much better. It was just nonsense. It was like, the whole world would be so much better. Everything would just come easily for me if I looked like this. All of my problems would go away. It would be wonderful. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, this is interesting, Emma. And again, it's this, you get a moment to look at some of your thoughts, right? And I remember thinking to myself, how do I feel about my friends who are in a bigger body as opposed to my friends that are in a smaller body? Do I love my friends in a bigger body more than I love my friends in a smaller body, or vice versa? And I was like, I don't give a shit what size body my friends are in. I really couldn't care less. And in fact, I delight in their variety and just extraordinariness. And it just dawned on me, like, if I am feeling like that about other human beings, why am I treating myself so differently? Like, why am I not loving myself when I am feeling like I'm in a bit bigger body than perhaps society might? And again, talking from our privilege as well, because of, like you say, a 14 to 16-year-old, 16 size body isn't what would be considered a larger body necessarily, but in our society can be made to feel like it is. And also we have such body dysphoria, right? Because all of us don't see ourselves as we really are at all anyway. It's just all very messed up. But yeah, so for me, it's swimming. I think swimming's been extraordinary, and swimming with a bunch of people around in my local area. It's like they have all these different swimming groups. They've got the Silver Salties. They've got like people who are like in their 70s meet on this day, and my group's like the age in my group is like, I don't know, probably from the 30s to the 70s. And there's 100+ people in there, and there's always someone to go swimming with. It's like not everybody goes at the same time, but there's always someone to go swimming with. And then we do boobs to the moon. Boobs to the moon is one of my most favorite things, which I never even thought about talking about. But boobs to the moon is we go naked swimming on the
Tell
full
me now,
moon.
Em, you have to explain boobs to the moon because this is just unreal. Tell us, Em. Now, tell me about boobs to the moon.
So boobs to the moon is part of this same group. Once a month on the full moon, we all hop down to Williamstown Beach with, oh, I shouldn't have said which beach.
Yeah. Oh,
Williamstown,
beep,
New Jersey is
beep.
American. And we have to change the time because, of course, the sun goes down much later at certain times of the year. But every single month we go, and you don't have to be naked, but you can be naked. And there's a bunch of women, all different shapes and sizes. And as soon as it's dark, we go, sometimes we do a little ceremony. Sometimes we just go in. Sometimes we burn things. Sometimes someone says a poem. Sometimes, like I said, we just go in. And it depends, it doesn't matter what the water's like. Most people tend to be nudies, but you don't have to. Like I said, some people wear their swimmers, some people wear their wetsuits. Really doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about just being with a group of women doing something a wee bit witchy on a full moon night that just feels really cool and a bit countercultural. And then we swim out to the little pole there if you want to, you don't have to. And we do a bit of howling at the moon. We do a little bit, and everyone gets their boobs to the moon. And then we come back and have our chocolate and go to bed. And it's
Oh,
delightful.
Em, that is just so beautiful. Like, what a gorgeous thing. Talk about good old-fashioned fun.
Yeah.
Just good
Yeah.
old-fashioned fun. You're
It's
getting your boobs to the moon, having a bit of fun, all different shapes and sizes. Just joyful, pure
Mm,
joy.
mm, mm.
So gorgeous.
And
And
I
I
was
think
going to read, shall I read my poem?
I would love you to read your poem because this is just beautiful. Please, Em, take it away. Read us this gorgeous poem.
So I said to Emma, I really wanted to come and read the poem on this because it's so appropriate. And I'd read it. It's in the changing rooms in our local swimming club. And it's like stuck with a bit of blue tack on the wall. And I apologize if it's somebody's poem and I'm not crediting them, but because I don't know the name of the poet. So again, we can always look it up later and find out. But the poem goes, three good friends went for a swim. The one who was fat wished she was thin. The one who was curvy wished she was clever. The one who was clever wished she swam better. The really great swimmer wished she was witty. The one who was witty wished she was pretty. All three friends thought the other two were just fine. If only they could let their own bright light shine. So throw on your swimsuit if you're fat or you're thin. Enjoy fun and friendship. Love the skin that you're in.
Oh, that just speaks to my heart, Em.
Me too. Yeah.
So beautiful because it's so true. This is what we do. We want to be, we're just never satisfied with what we are.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's just such an illusion too. We think the body dysphoria is just so real and prevalent. We just don't see it. And I think about, Em, what you do swimming with that beautiful group of every different age, shape, size, boobs to the moon. And I think about my own acceptance of my own body acceptance journey. And this is for me, and I'd love to hear what you think about this, Em. The way for me to heal and accept my body, this body acceptance, is to keep getting in my swimmers and being seen, not hiding myself, not grabbing the towel right to the water's edge, then throwing the towel and jumping in, not having my husband walk with me with the towel to take the towel off of me. Like that has how I have absolutely started to accept and love my body is just showing up as I am.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I love that you do that, Em, as well. And I feel like it's a practice, isn't it? It's not something that we do straight away. It's something we practice.
Takes
And the
time.
more we do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah. And having conversations like this and having other friends to walk with us on this path and do it does make it easier. Like the more we talk about it, and even with the Body Love Revolution Summit, I've had, many messages, I've been sharing, as you know, lots on social media about this and my own journey. The other week I did a reel with me and my swimmers walking into the ocean and coming out. And the amount of messages people going to me, Emma, when I think about myself getting in the water or wearing my swimmers, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
And going, I'm doing it. So it's that whole going, if I can do it, you can do it. And like we say, Em, you just alluded to it, a size 14 or 16 body is medium size, whereas somewhere in my mind, I have totally distorted and made out my body's this beast.
Yeah, same.
Which is again, there's the illusion of it. It's just that beautiful coming together and chatting as women about our body acceptance journey is the gift, because we have, women as grown up in the 80s, 90s, the messaging wasn't this. It was, you're wrong, you're broken, get on a diet.
Yeah.
There was no one advocating for nobody's bodies. It was, it's wrong and it's broken and keep working on it. There was no acceptance anywhere.
No.
When did you ever hear anyone say, I never heard anyone not say, I've never heard anyone say, I'm really happy with my body and I'm not on a diet.
Yeah, I love it.
No
I love
one.
that body. It's awesome, isn't it? Yeah. No, never.
No one said that. Not that I know of, ever.
No.
So, Emma, I do want to ask, how has your relationship with your body changed over the last few years? As you mentioned, the swimming has been massive.
Huge.
Stopping drinking has been
Yes.
instrumental.
Yes. Yes.
How else? And now you're in perimenopause.
Yes.
So how has your relationship with your body changed? And if you were to talk about it from this moment right now, all of the work you've done, the intuitive eating, coaching, and the whole journey, what would you say your relationship is now with your body?
I would say it's a lot kinder. It's a lot kinder. I'm still part of this culture. And so I have, those moments where I'm like, I catch myself on a photo and I'm like, oh gosh. And I make those judgments. But then there's another part of me that clicks in pretty quickly and says, look how happy you look. Look how much fun your jumpsuit is. Nobody would be. But I also think it's important to hold ourselves in the sadness of what it feels like to live in a culture which isn't accepting.
Yeah.
It's also important that we don't deny that we have these feelings for very real reasons.
Yeah.
But yes, is it perfect? By no means. By no means. Is it a work in progress? 100%. Will it ever be completely? I don't know, but I think it's definitely, I definitely feel braver now to be me, and excited to see where this is going to go. Delighted to have people like you doing this and other humans having these conversations. And, even all of us, standing up to our friends who are saying silly things without meaning to, like we will. We all make mistakes, right? We've talked about this, you and me, before. We don't get all this stuff right. But, calling out when people say things that are not helpful to our precious little souls and how we make our way through the world. Like, commenting on, the size of our body when they see us, or, haven't we lost weight, or just being nice and kind, but kind of calling that out now
Yeah.
is a big piece of this work, because it's also that fear of rejection, isn't it? Standing out from the crowd, being willing to back your shit up, which is really scary. It's a bit like, people say they're not drinking, or they've decided to take a break from drinking, and then they get all that stuff from other people, which often is worse in our brains than it is in reality. But it's still that same sort of thing. It's like, I'm going to take a brave step. I'm going to actually have my own back, and I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. And even if that means that I might be rejected because of it.
Or even when you're saying that, Em, I think about actually just being able to sit in the discomfort of that.
Yeah.
So interacting with someone who
Yeah.
I like and I don't want to be rejected by, and whether it be saying I'm actually alcohol free this month, or that's me, I'm alcohol free 1 month and then I'm not. That's my journey at the moment.
Yeah.
And saying I'm alcohol free, or if it's a comment on body, saying, hey, you can comment on anything, but please don't comment on my weight.
Yeah.
Saying that, and then being able to sit in the discomfort of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Without
being
trying
okay.
to fix it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just phoning you because I just wanted to say, did I make you feel?
Yeah.
Because
Without
that's,
them having to feel like you then have to apologize
yeah.
or justify or explain,
Yes.
but actually being okay just to sit in that discomfort.
Yeah. 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 It's hard. That's the work.
That's
That's
the work.
mm, mm.
Yeah, being able to be okay with that. And also not feeling like you have to defend yourself when you're actually communicating what you need, or
Yes.
if it's a direct question, answering it to the point and being very loving and kind, but also having a really firm stand around
Yes.
it.
Yeah. 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 Especially for women, it's very difficult for us to do that, isn't it? We've been conditioned not to do that. We want to keep we want to keep everyone happy
Yeah, we do.
at the expense
Absolutely.
of
That's our
ourselves.
work. Keep
Yeah.
everyone happy, and it'll be okay if I'm the one with the burnt chop or
Yeah.
the shitty end of the stick, as long as everyone else is okay.
Yes, that's so
Isn't
if
it?
I'm having to drink even when I don't want to, just to make you feel more comfortable, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm having to eat the cake even though I don't want to, or am I
Yeah.
having to whatever,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to make
Yeah.
everyone happy.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I
And
liked what you said before too, Em, around in the work
mm,
that I've done and I know you've done. For me, there was a part of me for quite some time that I wanted to blame someone and blame my mum for the diets.
yes.
And only just recently, mum and I had a conversation about it. And I understood from mum's perspective. And I've always known my mother, oh my gosh, no one loves me more than my mother. My mother
Yeah.
adores me to this
Mm,
day, and she would do anything for me. But
yes.
hearing mum say, but I remember when you come to me and you said you're fat and I wanted to help you.
Yeah.
So putting me on a diet as a teenager, I went to her sad and dissatisfied. So the only way mum knew how to fix it, well, we'll just get you to Jenny Craig, we'll go to Weight Watchers, we'll just
Yeah.
fix this.
Yeah.
Whereas now, thankfully, neither of my children have come to me with this,
Yeah.
and it would be an opportunity to parent different, but it's certainly the solution wouldn't be to go on a diet. But our parents, because
Yeah.
of the diet culture, that was how you helped your child. In actual fact, it was a very loving act
Yes.
to do
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they were
And
keeping
he
us safe.
keeping you exactly what you said, keeping you safe, don't want you to be picked on or to
Yeah.
whatever that is, or rejected, want you to
Yeah.
fit in. And even just recently I heard a piece of information, I thought I really would have loved to have known this piece of information, because I
Mm.
remember the change. So when I was about 13, 12 or 13, I remember getting quite chubby, and that was when I went to mum. And I remember going, and now just recently I heard a piece of information that says a child, boy and girl, child at that age has to put on extra weight to push them into puberty.
Yes.
So they get a little bit round to drive it. And then they have those ginormous growth spurts. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember, Sunny, it felt like, overnight the child was wearing ankle
Yeah.
freezes, his pants fit, and then they didn't. School uniforms, you go back and then he's got, and everyone,
Yeah.
and he just did that. But I really would have loved to have known that enable for a child to push in through
Yeah.
puberty, they need to have more fat in their body.
Yeah.
But that's the stage where children go to their parents and say, oh, I feel really conscious I'm getting chubby. If only the information, well, I believe now, if only the information was, yes, honey, because you're about to go through puberty and we
Yes.
need fuel in the tank to push you through. This
Yes.
is this, your body is in flux and flow.
That's it.
If
That's
only, and I'm trying to think of it for me in this perimenopausal, well, I'm actually menopausal now, just January menopausal, saying, Emma, it's a little bit like that. You've had to have this excess body tissue to get you into, and now we're going to level out
right.
again, and all of that's going to happen. But
Yeah.
it's that discomfort that's really hard to sit in and see through, and
Yeah.
understand that things are in flux and flow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. As we all know, one of the biggest side effects of, we do put on weight during perimenopause and during menopause. It's part of it. It's just
Part of it.
part of our body's changing, right?
Yeah, we're changing,
Yeah.
and change is good.
Huge piece of hormonal change. It's like they say
Yeah.
at least as big, if not bigger, than the reverse version when we were going through puberty. So
Yeah.
a lot to be kind to ourselves while our bodies are going through all of that, right?
Yeah. And that's exactly right, Em. A lot to be kind when we're going through another change,
Yeah.
a time to really step up with the kindness, the self-kindness. And that's also part of this whole,
Exactly.
body love revolution. I'm about to do the body love program after the summit. I'll have the
Yes.
program, which is because it's a practice, isn't it, Em? It's not like, we hear your evolution and your journey, and even saying you're not completely there, but gee, you've come a long way.
Yeah.
And the testament to you swimming with all these beautiful humans, that's the practice, that's the
Yeah.
work, showing up in your swimmers, out of bed, looking
Yes.
like a mad woman.
Yeah. Forgetting your knickers and having to go home with no undies on. That's
That's the joy. So, Em, I did want to ask, what has been your
Mm,
biggest aha moment in relation to loving the skin that you are in?
mm, mm. Biggest aha moment. I think it really is that, why am I treating myself so badly when I wouldn't treat anybody else that same way? I think that's probably my biggest thing. And then there's something in me that's like, and I found since I've stopped drinking, my intuition is so much more attuned. And there is something in there that says to me, there's something not right about all of this. There's something terribly off about all of this. Even like, you know, all the different facets of it, pretending not to be diet culture that kind of still are, you know, the healthy thing. Like there's this whole like diet culture hiding behind healthy. And even my mum will say to me, well, it's not healthy, is it? And actually you find, you know, when you actually look at the science behind it, it's not what people think. It really isn't. And I know when I was doing my intuitive eating studying work, it was just so surprising how sort of the the concept of health has hijacked really healthy eating, you know, which is, you know, eating beautiful, nutritious, whole food and not making any other food bad or wrong or and being able to eat for taste, being able to eat for your emotions, being able to, you know, allow yourself to have the cake if that's what you want, because it doesn't mean anything about you.
No, that's it.
Just a piece of cake.
Yes, we're meaning making machines, aren't we? So that's it. And that's such a good point. We eat the cake and then we have meaning around it, which is, well, you blew it again.
Oh, look at you.
You're bad. No
Greedy.
wonder you're, yeah. And then we put a meaning
No
around it.
willpower.
No willpower.
Weak.
Weak. Yeah.
Mm.
You've done it again.
There you go again. We're never going to be Elle Macpherson at this rate,
And no, we're not.
you know?
Yeah, this is the thing. And we do that constant. But isn't that interesting? You've just brought that up. And this is obviously part of, well, this is your intuitive eating information and you being an, you know, intuitive eating coach.
Yeah.
Is how the wellness industry, it's almost like trying to pose good team, bad team. So we'll just keep putting down. It's like that, you know, sort of a sling off match in marketing about what's all, and that's how the wellness industry has totally hidden behind the diet culture and snuck in there very sneakily.
But yeah, it's the same with self-care. They've stolen self-care. I'm like,
Yeah,
self-care is all about like random weird commercial shit instead of actually being about being nice to ourselves. It's just
actually,
another
and
thing we have to do on the list, and then we have to pay for it. And you know, it's like it's just another co-opt of something that was actually a radical, you know, when self-care itself, and I'm sure you know this, Em, but it's actually a radical part of feminism. It's like literally saying, I have needs and they get to matter. And I am not going to push myself to the point where I am on my knees and cannot function in order for you to be okay.
yeah,
It's radical, right? It's
yeah.
powerful, radical stuff. And somehow or other, it's been changed into nail manicures and and don't get me wrong, I love a manicure and I love a good bubble bath, but it's
Yeah.
not, that's not.
Now it's all this other jazz that costs money. Exactly.
Yeah.
I do remember a conversation you and Lisa Corduff had. I think it was a podcast. I think it was your podcast, if I remember right. They were live and it was around Mother's Day. And you and Lisa brought attention to that whole notion of self-care and look after your mum. Here, buy her a bottle of wine. And can you share a little more on that? Because I remember it being really powerful at the time and going, that is the sneaky marketing when we know, no, we don't want mum shit face. Like
No.
she's
Poor mum doesn't want to have, like, she's got too much on her plate. Take some stuff off her plate. Don't give her bloody gin. It's
yeah.
like, bloody give her a helping hand.
Exactly.
Someone lift her up a little bit. Give her don't just try and oh, don't worry, get on with it. Just
Yeah.
chugs out some gin, you'll be all right.
Have a drink while you're cleaning the house, mum. That might
You
make
won't
you feel better.
notice. You won't notice that you're working yourself
Yes.
to the bone. You won't notice that you've got feelings and you're unhappy in your life. Just keep topping you up your gin, you know.
Yeah. And that was when you and Lisa brought my attention that I went, because it's just so around us, you don't even realize. But to think
Yeah.
that was the thing that their marketing for Mother's Day was that for mum. But exactly. Give her a hand. Don't give her a gin.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
give her a hand.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
so Emma, I do want to ask, with your training being an intuitive eating counselor, how does
Mhm.
intuitive eating relate with women who are wanting to live into their midlife and be alcohol free? So
Mm.
what's the relation
What's
to,
the, yeah,
how do you feel that fits?
it fits. Oh, for me, it's really interesting because one of the reasons, and one of the reasons many, many women stop drinking is because we want to lose weight, right? That is one of the primary reasons why women stop drinking.
Mm.
I want to lose weight and I want to be more productive. So hilarious. It's not hilarious because that's exactly why I went into it. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it's almost like everything with alcohol, it's like the opposite is true. It's like actually it's us trying to fix ourselves because we think we're wrong. And it's us trying to work ourselves to the bone that's causing us to drink, as opposed to let's stop drinking so we can do more of that. It's like almost it's like let's do less of that and then we won't need to do the drinking. It's very interesting. But so the reason that I got called to do the intuitive eating thing was I looked at all the different, and there's research for every type of diet, right? And
Mm.
there's not one's not good, one's not bad, doesn't, all these different like food, whatever. You do you. For me, it was more about the principles of intuitive eating. There's 10 principles of intuitive eating, and the two kind of most important ones for me is number one, um, is that diet culture is causing huge problems for us as a human race,
Yeah.
and that it's never okay. Diet culture is never okay. It's something we need to get rid of. And number two was like increasing our interoceptive awareness so we can understand when we're full and when we're not, which is very difficult for, and we've spoken about this before, but for women in general, but particularly for neurodivergent humans and also humans who've had trauma, but women anyway, because we've dieted all our lives. So we're not very attuned with our bodies because we've continuously been telling our bodies what we feel doesn't matter. We're just going to ignore it. And
And
so we've pushed,
my
go on.
experience, sorry to interrupt, my experience, I've outsourced it.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
have
yeah.
outsourced my eating
Yes.
to a point where this is where, coming back home, coming back into the body is the work.
Yes. That's it. That's it. It's the
So
same with
sorry to
everything.
interrupt, but yes, go. So it's that,
But it's the
yeah,
same
no,
thing for me. It's like the reason we drink and the reason we are either excessively dieting, excessively exercising, being, I can't remember the word for it, but it's when it's all about health, but it's just as equally obsessive. And it's another way of controlling our experience of the world. But it's condoned by society, very much like, when we're obsessively tidy, to the point where it creates problems for us because it means we can't sort of relax or enjoy a moment because we're constantly having to sort of clean up or tidy up, and everything has to be just so in order for us to be able to function. These are all things those things are condoned. It's like working too much, overworking, condoned coping mechanisms. They're all coping mechanisms, all part of the same thing, right?
yeah,
And they're about us not being able to cope with our experience of the world and not having been taught when we're growing up how to manage our emotions because we've been told that emotions are bad or wrong, right? So as we know, it's like suck it up. Oh, don't make a fuss. As you said, you were saying that our women's work is to come into the world and make everybody else feel okay.
yes,
We're all sort of, for whatever reason, but we're all pretty sharply attuned to what's happening in the world. We can really pick up on other people's cues, so we know when the rooms. A lot of us can feel what's going on in the room, and we make it our responsibility to ensure everybody else is okay.
yeah, to
Or
mediate.
exactly. So there's so much in there that for me aligned between eating, diet culture, drinking culture. And to me, it's really a feminist thing as well as this whole idea that having to fit in, having to be controlled, having to be smaller, having to not feel, having to suppress, all of these things don't sit right to me. Being in restriction, being at war with our bodies does not
Mm.
feel. That my intuition says to me there's something wrong there. It's like I keep singing that song, there's something wrong in the village. It's that kind of like
Yeah.
there's something wrong. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some, we're not doing this live.
Yeah. That's the key there, Em. If we're at war with our body,
Mm.
something is wrong.
Something's up.
And that is for me, my experience of diets. I'm at war with my body.
Yeah.
We are punishing,
Yeah.
we are restricting,
Yeah.
we are pushing,
Yeah.
we are absolute in chaos
Yeah.
because it's this whole, and it's on your mind. Like I think so, you know, my biggest regret in my life is the amount of energy I have spent
Yeah.
about dieting and controlling and food, and that has been, it's so much energy in a day to that
Yes.
thinking I'm not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm too this,
Yes.
I'm too that, and that control.
Always.
That's, there's
Always.
nothing intuitive about that.
And to me as well, it's all trauma. So, you know, the reason that we think I need to fix myself in order to make the world okay is because as little children, we've made an interpretation of the world, and you'll know this as well. But we make an interpretation of the world. Things didn't work out how the way we wanted to. Somebody, for whatever reason, wasn't able to reflect back our value to us in their eyes. For whatever reason, they might have had their own stuff going on. We might have had a sibling who was demanding a little bit more attention. Our families might have had their own stuff going on. They might have been at work. They might have, whatever. It's kind of almost like commonplace that we will have felt that we were not quite good enough, that we weren't important enough, that we didn't matter enough. And even just silly things like, you know, being left to cry and not being picked up and comforted. You know, all of these things have an impact on us when we were little. And what happens with children is instead of thinking that we can, it's like, this is the problem that we have with big emotions, is instead of believing, which we can learn as adults, that this big emotion, this big experience of life, the thing that's making us sad, this thing that's making us unhappy, it is going to end and it's all going to be okay. As a little child, we just go into shutdown and we think no one's coming. And so for a lot of adults who can't cope with a big emotion or a big emotion experience, particularly if they weren't allowed to have them as children or were punished for having them, the fear is that if we have this experience, it's never going to end and no one's ever coming to help us. And isn't that so sad? It's like,
Yeah.
but it's the reality of the situation. People are like, what happens if I open the dam and I cry?
Mm.
When's the tsunami ever going to stop?
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen? So for me, both intuitive eating and working with humans around alcohol in the same way, always coming from a place of compassion, always coming from a place that the human being is good. The human being is a beautiful, beautiful, freaking amazing potential joy and light,
Mm.
whatever. And the world comes in and it stamps all over us, right? And then we take that on board and we
Mm.
spend the rest of our life until we get into midlife, usually believing it all and
Yes.
trying so fucking hard to fit these rules. And then we get to midlife and our estrogen goes and we just can't be asked anymore with it.
Yeah.
So we have to look at it. It's like, I just literally don't have the energy to do all this.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't do this anymore. And I'm just not prepared to. And suddenly we wake up and we're like, how did we get here? And it's like, estrogen got us here. Estrogen got
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
It was
And
like, it's
then,
like a little doing. It's like, come on, we'll look after everybody. Everything's going to be fine. We'll keep on going. We'll keep on running. And then midlife happens and you're like, oh.
so true. So
this,
true.
this is not sustainable.
Yeah. So true.
I don't know if
Oh,
I answered your question there.
no, all beautiful. Em, I do want to say thank you so much for all of your beautiful insights, your intuitive eating, and the whole process of, you know, removing alcohol from your life and the gift that's been to you. What a gift, what a blessing. Can you imagine what your life would be like now if you were still drinking?
I cannot even imagine. I think I would probably have been flogging myself to death still.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I would have.
Unaware.
I've been completely unaware,
Yeah.
completely unaware,
Yeah.
and just trying so hard and thinking I was shit.
Yeah.
Like, why can't I do this? Everybody else can do this.
Yeah.
Why is my family like this? Why can't we? Why can't I? There must be something wrong with me.
What a blessing, Em. What a
Sad,
gift you
man.
gave yourself and your family.
Mm.
What a gift.
Mm.
And now you're living, hearing this beautiful experience, boobs to the moon, swimming, your somatic dance that you do,
Oh, yeah.
all of your yoga, all of the beautiful things, the connection, the women that you help, being a shining light because you were brave enough to listen to your own inner voice, your own inner voice of wisdom. You got some little crack of light there that
Yeah.
you were able to then open up. And like you say, no, you're not perfect. No one's perfect.
And my life isn't all love and light. I have days where I'm just very tired and I can't get out of bed some days. I'm not, don't put me up on a pedestal for being a so, but because that's not my reality at all. But that's the other thing, it's like it's okay. Like you say, it's like it's okay to not be all of the things all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's cyclical. We've only got energy to do stuff some of the time.
Yeah, some of the time. That's it. Yeah, some of the time. That's it.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes.
and if you had one piece of love and care and compassion to share with our women about perhaps intuitive eating, or if they're thinking of taking a break from alcohol, or if they're exploring that, what would you say to them?
I think I'd say to them the first things first is that you are okay. Like, you are amazing. And you are not bad. You are not wrong. You are not any of those things that you think you are. You're not those things. That's just made up society putting that stuff on us. And I would say, first thing first, before you do anything else, is just see if you can make a few minutes for yourself. It's like take 5 minutes for yourself. And I don't mean 5 minutes to do your nails. I just mean 5 minutes apiece. Like, because that's the hardest thing. So many of us, don't we? We just run around trying to fill our time. That's why so many women drink. Like most of my clients, I would say, why would you drink? I would drink because I can't relax unless I'm having a drink, because otherwise I have to be with myself. And I don't, you wouldn't say that, but it'd be like, I have to keep busy all the time, because what happens if I'm not busy? It's boring. What does boring mean? It means I have to be with myself.
Yeah.
It means I have to have the conversations. And I think it's that if we can just give 5 minutes a day to just be with ourselves, that is a great training for any of this stuff, I think.
That
not easy.
Yeah, not easy, but that little crack of time, that 5 minutes gives your voice of wisdom to start to speak.
It's an opportunity for you to hear it. Because if you're so busy all the time, she's not got any room. And then you're dampening her down. Because that's at the end of the day, if we've got a craving, either for food or for, if we want excessive food, there's nothing wrong with having a craving for food, but if you want to craving for drink, or a craving for, like emotional eating, which again, in and of itself is fine. But if we're having a craving is our body telling us that there's something that needs some attention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. That's great awareness piece. If you're craving something, it's a little calling to inquire.
Yeah.
It's an invitation.
It's an invitation.
It's an invitation.
An invitation. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Em. Our conversations are always wonderful. I could talk to you for hours. We always have such great conversations. I loved that poem, and I just loved all of your beautiful pearls of wisdom and your journey. And I respect and admire you, dear friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice versa. I respect and admire you, my friend, and I'm so pleased to have you in my life. And I'm so proud of you for doing this. This is so cool. Well done.
Thank you, Em.
Empower your midlife. Hello, beautiful. Are you navigating this time of life but craving more calm, confidence and connection with your body? I've created a 3-day course designed just for women like you and I. With simple mindset shifts, soothing meditations and gentle yoga, you'll feel more grounded and less stressed, and deeply empowered. It's time to embrace this chapter of life with a little more self-love and ease. There's a link in the show notes. Join me.